Welcome to our latest Wandering Walks of Wonder history walking tour. Today we're going to be taking a tour throughout Fort Madison, Iowa. Along the way, we're going to see the old historic fort, as well as the downtown area, the train depot, and some beautiful homes. Fort Madison itself has a very rich history that's rooted in its strategic location here along the Mississippi River that we're seeing glimpses of as we start walking towards the old fort itself. Fort Madison was a government factory or trading post that was established under Article 9 of the 1804 Treaty of St. Louis. Governor William Henry Harrison of the Indiana Territory joined in the treaty with what Native Americans considered as unauthorized representatives of the Sac and Fox Nation. This treaty granted lands that are now a large portion of Illinois and parts of Missouri to the United States. The U.S. federal government agreed to pay the tribal nations $1,000 of trade goods annually and to provide a trading post for the Sac and Fox. This opened up trades with the indigenous tribes to counter the influence that Great Britain had over the area. In 1808, due to rising tensions with Great Britain and the need to move the government trading posts closer to the Sac and Fox, it was deemed necessary to construct a United States factory on the upper Mississippi River. They were led by Colonel Thomas Hunt, who died early in the expedition. This left his second in command, Lieutenant Alpha Kingsley, in charge of 63 officers and enlisted men, reaching the east to west portion of the Mississippi River in August of 1808. They established what was called Fort Bellevue, a temporary post before the onset of winter. They began building Fort Madison in April of 1809 amidst a threat from the Sac and Fox nations due to a poor hunting season, cultural misunderstandings, and English influence. Once Fort Madison was up and running and the local natives realized that the post was what it claimed to be, the facility became popular, resulting in a brisk and lucrative trade system with the local tribes. Fort Madison became the third highest grossing factory in the entire government system between 1808 and 1811. When the War of 1812 finally engulfed the region, Fort Madison was primarily attacked by the Winnebago, also known as the Ho Chunk, and the Menominee. Both of these tribal nations were from what is Wisconsin today. A small disgruntled group of Sac warriors, with Chief Blackhawk among them, joined with the siege. These tribes allied with the British and attacked Fort Madison not only to get at the United States, but also to attack pro-American or neutral natives who used the facility. The first siege of Fort Madison occurred before the war with Great Britain began in March of 1812. In September of 1812, the Shawnee leader Tecumseh unleashed a theater-wide offensive attacking Fort Madison, Fort Wayne, and Fort Harrison all within hours of each other. Fort Madison weathered a 4-day siege carried out by 160 Winnebago and 40 Sac. The siege brought about the destruction of most of the outbuildings, including the factory itself, and ended Fort Madison's role as a trading post. Following the abandonment of Fort Madison in 1816, not a lot happened in this area until the first settler came across the ruins of the fort, and that was General John Hawley Knapp, who in 1832 bought a claim to some of the land of the old fort and built the first building in the fall of that same year. He opened it up as an Indian supply store. Early next spring, he and his cousin Nathaniel Knapp, along with other families that settled there, formed the town of Fort Madison in June of 1835. From the mid-1800s to the early 1900s, Fort Madison, due to its location along the Mississippi River, became a major manufacturing area, and soon the railroads came to town. One of those railroads was the Santa Fe Depot that constructed this beautiful old depot here in 1910. This depot itself still acts as an Amtrak train station, a very active one itself, bringing visitors in as well as a major stop along the Amtrak system. There's also a museum here inside the depot as well as in the Santa Fe Railroad Freight Office at the other end of the building that we'll see. We're now shifting our tour to the downtown historic area of Fort Madison itself. The first site that we see is the beautiful and historic Lee County Courthouse. This courthouse itself was constructed in 1842 and is one of two courthouses in Lee County, which is divided into North Lee and South Lee. Lee County is the only county in Iowa that has two county seats. The other county seat for Lee County is in Keokuk. This courthouse serves North Lee and is one of the oldest continuously used courthouses in the state of Iowa. It's a beautiful example of Greek Revival architecture and is registered on the National Historic of Registered Places. We're headed into the Fort Madison Downtown Commercial Historic District. In this district are about 90 or so buildings, very historic, many of them dating from the mid to late 1890s up to the early 1900s. As we walk through this tour, I'll try to point out some of the more historic buildings in the downtown area and what they were when they were first originally built and the date that they were built. Since the time it was first settled around 1833 and became an incorporated city in 1835, Fort Madison has experienced several building booms. For instance, there were ones from about 1857 to 1859 and again in 1868 to 1871. But nothing can compare to the one that was experienced from 1887 to 1893 in reaction to the Santa Fe Railroad building its river bridge and shops here in Fort Madison. Hundreds of residences and commercial buildings were built during that time, including scores of duplexes and small cottages built as rental properties. During this next portion of the tour, that's going to basically take us along uh, Avenue, get the avenue right here, Avenue E, as well as Avenue F and G, we're going to see some beautiful old Victorian homes. As we go through this part of the tour, I'll stop narrating just a bit, but I have pointed out some of the more historic buildings and homes that were constructed during this period in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and the names of the families that built those homes. Unsurprisingly, many of these homes still have family members from the original founders of the town, well, not of the town, but of the homes themselves. I hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder tour here in Fort Madison, Iowa. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Take care now. Bye bye.